Hello, lovely people. Today we are going to have a special guest interview. This is not someone who has a neurodivergence, though she is the mother of a child who does, but she is someone who suffers from anxiety and depression and can talk to the fact that they are so hard to spot sometimes. Some of you may actually be experiencing the symptoms without realizing it. She's also a Latina, so she has a little bit of experience with what our culture is like when it comes to mental health. I'm Leah Batlle-Rafferty, and this is Memoirs of a Neurodivergent Latina.
Hello, everyone. I am here today with Michelle Choairy, who is going to talk to us a little bit about some common issues I think all of us have. There's a lot of comorbidities when you have neurodivergences, and a lot of times it's very hard to tease out what's causing what and how you're feeling. So, thank you for being with us. And why don't you introduce yourself
Yes,
and tell us a little bit about what you do?
sure. Michelle Choairy, I was just trying to teach her how to pronounce my name because it is a hard one. But I think there's only one other Michelle Choairy in the world, and I've never met her. So one in the world or out of two, I don't know. But I am a mom of what I call a complex kid. He is neurodivergent. And he is one out of 200 kiddos in the world who have a genetic disorder. I am a medical sales uh, rep. I work in the operating room. I have a very high pressure job, and my son's 11 years old, and I have to deal with depression and anxiety and all of those things that come along with having a child like this, and for myself also. And so I think that, what I I started an advocacy program for parents to learn how to advocate for their kids, for their children. But I think that today, like, this is what I do for a living. I am an advocate. I have been really advocating for my son for 11 years because he's 11. And that is what I do right now. But I think that you really wanted to touch on the woman, Michelle, and who I am and how I have dealt with all of these issues in my life and the overwhelm and the depression and the anxiety and all of that. So,
And
yes.
I'm really so let's start with how did you know? Because I feel like sometimes it's subtle, right? Sometimes, like if you're depressed or if you have anxiety, you kind of blow it off as a parent. I'm juggling so many
Mm-hmm.
balls in the air. I I can't let one fall, right? Or and so you like
Yes.
come up with all these reasons why you're not really depressed or why you're not really anxious. And so I guess what I want to know is how did it start becoming clear to you that you were having these issues?
Can I tell a story? I love telling stories. So I, and the reason is because it's gonna tell you exactly how I found out. Okay. I do, like I said, I'm a medical sales rep, and I've been doing this for 20 years. And I was in the operating room one day. And what I do is I'm in the operating room. I make sure that the surgeons are using the correct plates and screws and implants to fix your ankles or whatever. So I'm in the operating room, and it was with a surgeon that have worked with for many, many years. And I could not shake off that awful, awful headache. I was like, I am not drinking enough water. So I would go and I would drink a gallon of water, and that wouldn't help. And I'm in the operating room, and then it's like, oh, I haven't eaten. Oh, let me eat something. Okay, I eat something. And then maybe it's this. And I just kept going back and forth. And he looked at me and he's like, go to pre-op and get your blood pressure taken. So I walk out of the operating room, I go in, and the nurse takes my blood pressure and she's like, hang on, have you been running? What have you been doing? I was like, no, I've been in the OR. She's like, your blood pressure is really high. It was like 180. It was like about to explode. I was about to have a freaking stroke. And she's like, just sit here and let's take it again and see. But it wouldn't come down. So I go back to the operating room and I tell him, just kind of laughing it off, oh, yeah, my blood pressure. I don't even remember what it was. And he looks at me, he goes, get out of here and go to the emergency room or the urgent care. You cannot be here. Your blood pressure is way too high. You're going to stroke out. You got to go. So I pick up my stuff and I go to an urgent care. And then this 20-year-old, some kiddo, like a physician's assistant, comes in and is like, okay, ma'am, what can I help you with? I'm like, well, my blood pressure is really high. He looks at me, are you under a lot of stress? And I started laughing at him. And then I started crying. And it was like, I have this job. I'm the only one doing this. Everybody left from my position, like from my team. Now I have my son at home and I have to do I just, blah, on the kiddo. And he's like, ma'am, I think you need a therapist and a psychiatrist. So he sent me to a psychiatrist. He first gave me a shot for my headache, right? He's like, I'm gonna give you a shot, Toradol, so your headache gets better. And he's like, but you need to follow up and you need to go to a psychiatrist. You're like your anxiety, you're overwhelmed. You need to take care of this. So I immediately, like 2 days later,
so until this point, you're dealing with it as a physical issue. You're like,
oh yeah,
I just got to get over it, and I got to go back to doing what I'm doing, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't like I felt the pressure. I felt all these things, but it wasn't like there wasn't a name for it. It was just me being a type A personality. That's what I thought it was. That it was all about, well, I'm type A, so this is just how it is and this is how it goes. So I go into the psychiatrist. I was able to get in like within a day or two. He puts me on meds, and I will tell you that I did not know that I had anxiety until I didn't have it anymore.
Oh my God.
I don't know how to explain this to people, but once that thing that was constantly in my chest went away, I was like, so this is how people live. Like what I was living was hell. Like I my blood pressure was high all the time. It was constantly like, I got to do this, this is it. And trying to manage a high profile job, you know, high stress job, along with two kids at home. And I had no idea. I just thought that's just how it is. But once I started taking, and I don't know, I am not saying to everybody that you need to take meds or whatever, but for me, that is what told me I had awful anxiety because I didn't have it anymore. It went away.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons I brought you on is because I am Latina, right?
Yes.
Just like you. And I thought it was
Yes.
really interesting when you were talking to me about your depression and looking and kind of the looking for therapists and talking to therapists.
Yes.
And when you finally found one. And I was hoping maybe you could talk to that because I think for my audience, you know, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of different women from different backgrounds, right? We all had these things in our cultures that either support
Mm-hmm.
you getting mental health or act against it, right? Getting mental health
Correct.
services and support. So, do you mind talking to me a little bit about that experience?
No, I'd love to. And it was interesting because I actually brought this up to my psychiatrist and he had no idea. And he was also he's also Romanian. And so it was very interesting. But the depression, I had the depression when I was in college. I think that it had a lot to do with I moved to the United States without my family. And I was going to school here. So I really didn't have the support of a family for the time during that time during college. And it was really hard. And so that was my bout of depression. And during those times, like I would go to a therapist here and there, and it just didn't connect. There wasn't like I didn't feel like they were helping me. I don't know if they just couldn't understand what I was going through. I don't know what it was, but I just couldn't get the help that I needed through talk therapy. And so after this whole incident, I was talking to my sister, and my sister's like, why don't you try my therapist? That has been my therapist, your sister's therapist, and your mom's therapist. Why don't you go to her? Because it's probably going to save you at least 10 sessions of trying to tell somebody what it's all about in your family. And, you're just going to go straight to it. So, because, she knew everybody and I was like, oh, I don't know, it's just never like helped. And I tried it and it was life changing. And she actually did in Brazil, she did a postgraduate paper or presentation, or she studied uh, international like relationships and how they affect the couples and things like that. My husband is American, white as white can be, and so bald and white, love him, but he's like the typical white guy. And here I am, like this Brazilian with like all the attitude in the world. And like it was like she's like, I'm so glad you found me because I have this background. And so I started going to her, and it really it made a difference. Finally somebody that could speak my language. Maybe it was because she already kind of had a relationship with my family, or maybe it was because she was Brazilian, but I really thought that when you talk to somebody who has your same type of background, it makes a difference because they understand certain things that like a therapist here in the United States wouldn't understand, because this is the culture that it was in Brazil. This is the culture here. But my mental neurology, everything was made and created in Brazil until I was 17 years old. And that's what shaped me of who I truly am. Everything else just it was on top of that, but really that is the beginnings. That's where I came from. And I really thought that, and she even said that when you study these relationships, when you study this you realize that you have to have a therapist that understands your culture. So
That's wonderful. Yeah, when you were talking to me about that, there's so many things that came to mind, right? I was talking to you about the fact that, at least Salvadorians are grin and bear it people, right? You can work your way through
yeah,
this, right? Just power
yes,
through
yes,
and you'll get out the
yes,
other
yes,
side,
for sure.
right?
Yes.
You don't need a therapist. Um,
No, who needs that?
who needs that? And there's also this really interesting thing too. It's interesting what you said about your husband, because my husband's also from the U.S. and there
Mm-hmm.
is definitely a big difference in culture. I'm very lucky with him.
Mm-hmm.
He's really wonderful, but
Mm-hmm.
small town. Pennsylvania, right? and
Yeah.
and El
Hmm.
Salvador. I had never thought about the nuances of a relationship between those two cultures as being something that as therapists really needed to understand. And I also
Hmm.
think that there's another piece here that a lot of therapists don't get, which is being in between cultures, right? So
Yes.
you're from one culture and now you're in the US and you're trying to adapt to the other culture, and after X amount of years, you don't quite fit into either one fully, right? I can't go back to
Yes.
El
Yes.
Salvador and fit in
Correct.
with Salvadorian culture anymore, right? But I'm also not
No way.
really US. How do you
Yes.
feel?
I know. I feel the same way. I'll be honest. I've been here. Geez, it's gonna go on 32 years. So I've spent more time here in the United States than I did in Brazil. But like I was explaining before, my root was in Brazil. When I go back, it takes me days to like relax and go back to the relaxing culture, go back to, let's just have fun and dance and sing and things that we don't do here in the United States. I'm sorry, but we just like I don't know. Like, we get together and we watch football on TV. And with my family, it's like, let's get the guitar and let's sing
Yep,
songs,
yep,
and let's
yep,
dance. And that's kind of how it is. And that is the difference, right? And so, and for me to relax and to be okay with that, like it takes me a while. And I'll be honest, like I'm always thinking about my husband. I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get him to watch NFL while we're out in Brazil? Like, I don't even know how I'm going to do that. So, but there is that difference. I've been here almost 32 years. Takes me time to go back. Could I live in Brazil like again? I don't know if I could. Uh, I don't think that I would because of the issues I have with my son. I don't think that they're at the point in Brazil where he can be taken care of the way that he would here in the US. I don't think that advocacy in Brazil is where we are here with
yeah,
IDEA, with FAPE,
yeah,
with, all of that. I don't think that they have laws already set for kids that need the help for neurodivergent. What I like lovely call them the complex kiddos. You know, I don't think that they're quite there. And would I take him there? I wouldn't.
right.
I wouldn't
Yeah, I think
because
El Salvador is the
I
same way.
find yeah. So I don't know that I would go there, but it's funny that you say that. And as you were saying it, it kind of came to my mind. So both of my parents passed within a year and a half apart from each other. So my dad, it's been a little bit over a year since he passed. And we have we have a condo in one of the small little cities in Rio that we spent every summer there. It was like our second home. It really was. And I was talking to one of the surgeons that I work with, and I'm like, yeah, we're dealing with all this stuff because it's still going. We had to finish my mom's because my mom passed away first, and now it's my dad's. We're still in the middle of all this, and we're trying to sell it. And he looked at me and he was like, why are you selling it? Don't sell it. Buy it. Buy it out of your brothers and sisters and go live in Brazil. And I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I should. I don't know. But like for that second, it was like, you know what? Maybe I could in the future.
Yeah,
But because of my son, I don't think that I can right now.
yeah, yeah. Advocacy is definitely an issue in Central America too, in a lot of places. I think once again, it's that
Mm-hmm.
culture of there's nothing really wrong with you. You just gotta power through
Yes,
it, or kids will be kids. And the problem with that is that then it doesn't deal with the issues the kid is really having that make it harder when they're older.
correct.
Um,
Yes.
yeah. And I think the other part about being in between is I'm going to say some like probably not very PC things. I don't know. The US culture is very lonely, it feels like to me. Like in
Yes,
El Salvador,
I
you
agree.
have your big group, you're like your big giant family, and like people walk in and out of your house, and like you said, there's like gatherings all the time, and people play music, and there isn't my group of friends that I do this with, and my group of friends that I do that with, and my group of friends, like
Hmm.
my book club friends and my gaming friends and my pool party friends who are all different people. That isn't how it works
Yes.
over there. And
Uh-huh.
and it was really funny because my mom, well, it's not funny, but my mom when she came here fell into a really bad depression. She's an extreme extrovert. So and she said
Hmm.
she's like, I didn't really know what depression was when I was there. She's like,
Yeah.
somebody's going to walk into your house and do something to pull you out of it. Now,
Yes.
I think that's too much of a generality. I'm pretty sure it exists as a real thing. But in
Oh, for
terms of
sure.
like
But they,
percentages, maybe it's lower because maybe people are a little less lonely, right?
yeah, my mom suffered from depression all her life. And it was very apparent. And she had actually, it's crazy that I didn't know this, but you can actually get liver cirrhosis from medication and not from alcohol. So we didn't know this.
Oh, wow.
And she had end stage liver cirrhosis because of all the meds that she had been on throughout the years for her depression, I think she was a little bipolar and things like that. So all of that to say that, it is um I the that tells you. I don't think she ever really had a therapist, a talk therapist. I think she would just go to a psychiatrist and they would just give her things, you know what I mean? So she could cope. But she always had depression. She always had that bipolar thing that was going on with her. And we as kids, like, we dealt with it. It was never discussed in the family. Like, it was never brought up. We never talked about it. We just dealt with it. Like, mom would go and sleep in bed all afternoon. That's just how it was. That was, And so, but those things, and then it all led to, of course, at the end, she had liver cirrhosis, and we're like, she never had a drop of alcohol in her body ever in her life. And here we are, right? She didn't pass away from that. She actually got pneumonia and went to the hospital. But just looking at it, it was not a myth. It was like something that you just don't talk about.
Yep.
You don't talk about depression.
Right.
You don't talk about anxiety. You don't talk about these things because you know what? Our job is to be fun, get together, sing, dance. That is our job, and to excel in things. And maybe the culture has changed a little bit. And maybe I just saw that because I was there so young.
Right.
Uh, but that's what I saw. That's how it was. And of course, we in my family, we all kind of have that part of that depression. We have a lot to talk about with our therapist to figure it out, right? Because nobody's perfect. And if you put yourself into therapy, if you do those things, you're going to find more and more issues in yourself and the reasons why you do certain things and how you treat people in a certain way. And you try to figure all that out. And then you try to help yourself, right? Once you know what the problem is. So, anyway. I kind of went down like a big rabbit hole. I'm sorry.
I mean, this is really really timely. I'm actually probably going to put this out in my next episode because I just did an episode on my depression in college, on the
Oh, okay.
spiraling
I
that
had that
I did
too.
in college,
Yes.
and how often I beat myself up, and how hard it was to get up some days, just because you'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't finish this problem set. And oh my God, I'm such a horrible person, right? And then, oh, I didn't make it to
Yeah.
class. Oh my God, look, I can't
Mm-hmm.
even like do my responsibilities, right? And like, um,
Yes.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
think this is a very interesting, timely conversation. Thank you so much. And
Oh, yeah. Thank you for having me. Of course. Like, this is great.
yeah, I really
I
appreciate
love
it.
talking about this stuff.
And I think at some
Yeah.
point I would love, a lot of us with neurodivergences tend to be parents of kids with neurodivergences. Surprise, surprise, right?
Yes.
Um,
Yes. It passes on down. I don't know how.
I know,
It's the
right? Like
water or
where did it
who
come
knows?
from? So
Yeah.
I think I'm my next season is going to be a lot about being a parent and being neurodivergent. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
there's probably a good space to bring you back to talk about the advocacy and maybe what some of your clients come to you with. Because I know that when I started with the whole IEP thing, I did all my research, I was still overwhelmed, I was lost. I had to bring in an advocate just to understand what should be written into the IEP that would benefit my son instead of the school. And I,
Yes.
you know, I would love to hear kind of obviously de-anonymized stories next
Mm-hmm.
season about kind of
Yeah.
the difficulties that people walk in with.
Anytime you want me, just let me know. I'll be happy to come back and talk about it. Yeah.
I will gladly have you
Yeah.
back. This has been such a pleasure.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to Memoirs of a Neurodivergent Latina. This podcast was written, edited, and produced by me, Leah Batlle-Rafferty. All music is by Carlos Neda. To send us an email, feel free to send to moanl@labradsolutions.com. That's MOANL@labradsolutions.com. And our website is www.moanl.com. And this podcast is part of Labrat Solutions, Inc.